In my last video focusing on Sargon of Akkad, I was actually relatively civil, even with showing what a scumbag he really is, using examples of his trying to dox and label people as kid diddlers in reference to his character with his running for office. In this video, the gloves are coming off, or at least one might, because I really want to take a couple swings at the Swindon Swindler after seeing us trying to spin the aftermath of the EU parliamentary elections for Ukip and himself. His doing it is beyond vile and disgusting. Even with how transparent things are with his doing it, Sargonites have bought into his bullshit, which is to be expected. But one would think at least one of them might wake up and get a clue when it comes to Soy Boy of Cuckold. He can do no wrong with them. There is no swaying their perceptions of him from fallacy into reality. He could tell them he's starting a community in Guana called Spurgtown with all the Kool-Aid they can drink, and they would be flying there the next day to take up residence. I truly believe this too with how each and every one of them act like they're trying to replace V as Carl's cock holster and tongue juggler of his ball sack. There are others though who can be swayed from buying into the delusional fantasy Sargon is trying to push as reality regarding his political bid failing and Ukip imploding. These are the ones this video is targeting, along with those who know the soy father for the retarded hockey helmet wearing spurg he is. This is my response to Sargon attempting to try to spin a complete and total shit show of his own creation into something that, according to him, it turns out was the result of Nigel Farage and his Brexit party. During the election, and even now, Carl, as deluded as he is, fancies himself as a Donald Trump of sorts. He's referenced Trump with his running for office and compared himself to him over and over and over. When people pointed out the abysmal showing of Ukip and himself in the polls, making these types of comparisons was his go-to response to them. Now, I hate to break it to Carl here. Wait, actually I don't, and I am about to enjoy this. If he was like Trump, it wouldn't have mattered who else was running or what party they represented. He would have been a populist candidate that is an elected member of parliament right now, if even remotely like Donald Trump. It wouldn't have been Nigel Farage's time as Carl is trying to claim now after the fact, which he is doing all while hoping no one points this out about his delusional claims of being like Trump. For one thing, Trump isn't a weak-chinned, neckbeard to hide it, C-cup rocking, low testosterone, immature, infantile, living in La La Land, manipulative, sleazy, scummy, morally flexible, retarded beta spurg. For another, he wouldn't be caught dead in either suit of Sargon's. Then there's the biggest thing that sets them apart. There is the fact that Trump has never doxed people for making fun of him. He's never falsely accused them of being kid diddlers for doing it. He's never tried sending the FBI after them for exposing as being a spurg. I think you get the picture. He's not remotely like Trump, but he wishes he was. In his delusions of Trumpdom and believing he is just like him, Carl has even tried to portray the media as peddlers of fake news with their reporting on him. The problem is, they were reporting on things a Sargon of Moron has actually said, which is probably why instead of calling them fake news with how he likes to steal things and make them his own, he called them dirty, dirty smear merchants for doing so instead. I actually kind of wish they had ignored that child's play and went for the good stuff. It would have been poetic justice and karma all rolled into one if the legacy media in the UK had reported on Carl's big-brained attempt to try to label Mr. Metokur as a pedophile for making fun of his Salvation Army thrift store suit. A suit he bragged about owning and showed up to the EU Parliament in, looking like a homeless guy who was given it for a job interview. Or they could have gone after him for reporting on his indirect and direct involvement in the skeptics' gay ops and doxing of people. Even better, they could have done it with his trying to get Andy Worski arrested by the FBI as a terrorist with his coming to the US to participate in an amateur MMA fight by contacting them and saying he was one. All of these things are far worse than anything Carl has ever said. There is no way he would have been able to spin that level of infantile pettiness with the public in the UK. He was unable to do it with the things that legacy media did report on about him. The same is true with others like Dave Cullen not being able to spin it in defense of Carl with something like that. Mind you, I do not believe he is aware of these things when it comes to Spurgon of retard. If he was, I'd hope he'd disavow them and not defend him or them as a result. Since the election, Dave and others who defended the dawn of La Soya Nostra during the run-up to it are now eerily silent when it comes to its results and UKIP's catastrophic loss. Not one of them has dared to chime in. It's almost as if they don't want to have to admit they were wrong and back the wrong horse. Oops, I mean retarded horse. In all honesty, with how they were with him, the things he said, and the actions they knew about, they probably know that opening their mouths won't end well for them in the end. Others have chimed in since Carl murdered Ukip and lost spectacularly, even to the cucks. These aren't the people, though, who are defending him. They are the ones who've been pointing out the problems with Sargon himself and his running for political office. They're the ones who have been pointing out what a retarded spurg he is, too. At this point, they have earned the right to do it too. They have earned a right to rub it in and say, I told you so. Mr. Metokur is one of these people who's done this and earned that right. Between his videos Sargon's Guide to Winning Elections and his Sargon Election Day livestream, I believe he's covered the damage Carl Benjamin has inflicted on Ukip and his own political career pretty well. He has more than shown the results of it leading up to and including the election. Because he has, I don't feel I need to rehash any of it. If you are interested in watching his video or livestream, I have linked them in the description. Sargon put out a video the other day trying to spin both his and Ukip's complete and total failure in the elections as something expected while placing the blame for it at the feet of Nigel Farage and the Brexit Party. He actually had the audacity to do this when it is easily shown that his being a spurg in large part caused it all to happen. Metokur was able to easily show it using events that happened, tweets, and statements from current and former members of Ukip along with other things to do so. Looking at Carl's video trying to spin all of this, to me at least, it seems like he's trying to 10D checkers the shit out of the situation. It is clear he's hoping it doesn't end up exploding right in his face. He has big plans for Ukip going forward and really likes that low IQ and duped people freely hand him money over the internet and support his sorry ass. Just on the note of financial incentive alone, he has good reason to want to spin what happened. After this EU parliamentary election, in the real world beyond the internet, there is no way in hell Carl has anything to fall back on employment-wise. If those who support him financially online start to pull that support out from under him, he is fucked, to put it succinctly as possible. They could very well do this if they were to actually see him and his actions for what they truly are. They see how he is a lying, morally flexible, opportunistic, intellectual fraud, and it will contribute to their doing so. So could his being the direct cause of Ukip's demise and everything surrounding its happening as well. The money people give the soy-filled Don as tribute online is the only real source of income he is ever going to have at this point. The same is true with whatever money he can make off of advertising as well. He has made himself unemployable in the real world. Where he is going to do whatever he has to in order to make sure it keeps coming in. He honestly has no other choice but to do this at this point. Not even Applebee's or McDonald's would employ the Swindon swindler now. Not to mention there is no way in hell Burger King would give him a job with their tweeting how they were selling milkshakes while others weren't because people were throwing them at him. He probably couldn't even get a job at the local spank tanks as the jizz mop and squeegee guy at the moment with how bad he's screwed himself over with the stupid things he's done and said. Others are noticing the situation of his creation and how fucked he is because of it. It is exactly why he is personally seeing and we are witnessing his ability to generate income online under attack. Just like with Patreon, Sargon brought it all on himself regardless of whether it's happening as right or wrong. He has literally handed those going after him the ammunition to do so with the retarded shit he does and says. Because he is a mentally retarded spurg, he is his own worst enemy. YouTube's recent demonetization of his main channel and hitting of his videos with it on his secondary ones is a situation of his own making. If he wasn't trying to be an edgelord by spewing really cringy verbal diarrhea, he wouldn't be seeing this happen. If he actually tried to make valid points like an articulate and intelligent adult would, they would have absolutely nothing to use against him. Anyone with an IQ higher than 50 knows this too. Jordan Peterson is hated far more than Sargon of Retard is by the left. Yet, for all intents and purposes, he is untouchable. Why is that? Let me tell you why. It is because Jordan Peterson is an articulate and intelligent adult who chooses his words wisely while making valid points. Plus, he never goes full retard, unlike the soy father has on more than one occasion. It just took me less than a minute to explain why Sargon lost his YouTube monetization. Yet, he wants to play it like he is completely clueless as to why they went full demonetization on his sorry, pathetic ass. He believes that he's fooling everyone beyond his harem of Sargonite fluffers that are more than willing to stroke his pathetic ego and cock when V isn't doing it for him. The problem is, for him that is, he's not. Where he doesn't realize that he isn't fooling anyone beyond the Sargonites and duped with the YouTube demonetization situation, he decided it was a good idea to try the same thing with his failed election bid and murdering of Ukip. A reason why he is because he knows it could very well hurt his bottom line. It is a major concern of his. But it isn't the primary reason for his trying to place the blame for his failure and killing Ukip at the feet of Nigel Farage and the Brexit Party. His big plans for Ukip are: as I mentioned in my video where I compared Sargon to Ocasio-Cortez, there was a recording made by a Ukip party official of a conversation he had with the Swindon swindler and his milk-fed gimp and lackey V. In it, he got the big-brain super genius to admit it was his intent to fill the party with his liberalist locals and use them to take control of it. I kid you not on this. I really wish I could find a copy of it at this point, and I'm still looking. If you find it, please leave a comment or send me a link to it on Minds or Gab. Because at this moment, with his plans for Ukip currently, people really need to take a listen to that conversation themselves. The intentions of this smug git to take over Ukip haven't changed. What did change, however, was having to use his merry band of individualist, collectivist spurgs to do so. Little did he know, all he had to do was make Ukip so toxic that anyone even remotely associated with it would bail, which is exactly what he ended up doing to it. It has resulted in his being one of the only ones left in Ukip with any sort of power, having his liberalist yes men behind him. Now that he is one of the only ones left, his taking over the party should be relatively easy, and it is clear that he knows this too. All he needs to do is find a few more to join that will vote him in as the head of it, and his little takeover of Ukip will be complete. In order to make it happen, Sargon knows he has to spin everything surrounding his and Ukip's spectacular loss, one to even a bunch of cucks. This has led to his weaving a fairy tale fantasy about what happened. One he believes is going to fool everyone when he is standing over the dead body of Ukip covered in its blood, holding the murder weapon in his hand, his past and the idiotic things he's done and said. As a witness to his murdering Ukip, trying to cover it up, and now looking to reanimate its corpse into a zombie version of itself, or at least try to weekend Bernie's it around the UK while manipulating it like a public, I could not allow him to get away with it without at least trying to warn people to it. Which is why I am here speaking my piece in this video. Everything we say, everything we do, all of our actions and words, they have consequences. That is a part of life, one that we all must deal with. There are some of us, though, who believe that they are above dealing with the consequences of them. The Soy Father is the poster child for this too. Sargon believes that he can and should be able to say or do whatever he wants and be free from the consequences of them. With how much he's gotten away with in the past, it's understandable too. When you are neck deep in the gay ops of skeptic wastes of space like Kraut and Tea to dox and smear people and nothing happens to you, you are going to believe you have no consequences to your actions. When you get away with trying to label several people as kid diddlers using clips of them taken completely out of context and faked screenshots, again, you are going to believe that you have no consequences when it comes to the things you do. When you've made a false report to the FBI of someone being a terrorist and you didn't get a knock on your door, you guessed it, you will believe it with that too. Sargon of Retard has done all of these things and has never once seen any real repercussions as a result of them. At most, he has been made fun of for it. But as consequences go, that really isn't one. Even though it is clear it hurts his feelings, people do it and don't worship the ground he walks on. At this point, he needs to finally see there are consequences to his actions and actually start feeling what that means. I truly believe that if he doesn't start feeling them, unlike with a lot of creators it has happened to, when things finally go to shit for him, he could really make things a complete and total nightmare for the rest of us. As far as I can see, unless things change with Sargon, I don't see things playing out differently. I'm not exaggerating either. Carl has made it clear he will get his hands dirty and resort to outright sleazy, underhanded tactics to take down anyone he sees as a threat, or has committed the ultimate sin of making fun of him for being a full-on hockey helmet-wearing retard. When the powers that be finally come for him online, which they will sooner rather than later, whether it is the UK government, Silicon Valley, or both at the same time, there is no way he's going down alone. With how petty he is, he's going to do everything to make sure he takes as many of us as he possibly can down with him. He will try to make alliances and associate himself with others as part of this. The reason for his doing it won't have anything to do with there being strength in numbers either. The sole purpose of it will be so that they end up with targets painted on their backs to deflect the attacks away from himself, nothing more. He is also going to throw anyone and everyone he possibly can under the bus they are trying to run him over with in order to slow it down and buy himself more time. It won't matter who they are. The bigger they are, the better for him. Then there is his Kekistani Republican Guard of Sargonite true believers. When things get desperate for Sargon, they are going to become as dangerous as he is, if not more dangerous for all of us. They believe he is some big-brained intellectual who is leading them in the fight against the cultural Marxist left. They are his own little army of low IQ, barely functional, liberalist, collectivist, Kool-Aid drinking spurgs. He will use them and everyone else he can as cannon fodder and pawns in his fight for survival when they finally fully come for him out here. There is no way around this. All we can do is try to minimize the damage Sargon is able to inflict with his tard strength, pseudo-superior intellect, and listening to 5 minutes of Sun Tzu's Art of War on audiobook. Sargon is a man, a term I am using very loosely here, that believes honesty is a tactic. When someone will do that, they will lie, cheat, steal, or do anything else they deem as necessary to get what they want. Which Sargon has proven time and time again he will do whatever he deems necessary to try to get something he wants. When he will try to label people as kid diddlers or have the FBI arrest them as a terrorist, he is making it clear he will. With someone like Sargon, morality isn't defined. It is fluid like a leftist's gender and sexual orientation. but their morality is just as fluid as well, which could explain why everything else is fluid with them too. How leftists and the Dawn of Lasoya Nostra justify their actions, even if they should be morally reprehensible to them, like they would be with the rest of us, is by the ends justifying the means. If they see something they want is morally right in the end, they will use that as justification for doing immoral things. Where this is the type of person Sargon is, with his overestimation of his intellect, and how that makes him a dangerous retard for the rest of us without a wrangler reining him in, just imagine what he could be capable of if he were to amass the smallest amount of actual political power, even if through a fringe party, which is exactly what Ukip will be if he manages to zombify it or weaken and Bernie's it. What will happen if he manages to make that happen before a move is made against him by politicians, Silicon Valley, the legacy media, leftists, and others to take him down online? Do you really think Sargon will be a benevolent dictator of his little party and not abuse the power of it? The soy father might fancy himself as being a British Donald Trump, but in reality, with any sort of political power, he'd be their Hillary Clinton, minus the double-tap suicides with firearms being illegal there. He would make the gay ops he was neck-deep in with Kraut look like they were mere child's play in comparison. He would start his own little retard gate, putting Hillary Clinton and the DNC's Russiagate to shame in regards to how pathetic the foundation for it is. Obviously, I'm joking a little bit about if he was to amass political power here. For one thing, Hillary Clinton is more popular than he could ever hope to be. For another, she has bigger balls than he does and a higher testosterone count to go with it. Just about the only thing they have in common is they're raising another man's child. If we don't do anything about Sargon, call him out, point out to people his issues that will end up biting us in the collective ass in the end, and weaken his power base, along with the damage he can inflict going full retard, that is all on us. If he becomes a little Tin Pot, Napoleon Retard-a-lot, dictator of a fringe party with the slightest bit of political power he will abuse, that is also on us. Because absolute power corrupts absolutely, and the last thing you want is a retard like him with any power. If you liked this video, depending on where you are watching it, please give it an upvote or thumbs up. If you want to know when new content of mine hits the internet, don't forget to subscribe to one or more of my social media or video accounts listed here. Also, with YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. You can find all of my video content on both BitChute and YouTube. This may not be the case with other places I upload to, but I will try to minimize this happening. You are always welcome to interact with me at any of these sites on the list, so feel free to do so. If you have anything you want me to cover in a video, when it comes to news or current events, send it right along to me. I will try to do my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching.